Hey, thanks for joining. I'm going to do a video on this Dremel yard tool or chainsaw sharpener. I want to see if this really works and how well it does. I have a chainsaw, of course, and use it quite a bit, so it requires a lot of sharpening. I do most of my sharpening with basically a rat tail file, and that seems to work pretty well. Let's go ahead and see how this does. I will give you my feedback and my opinion once we're done. Alright, so it comes in a one of these packages that are impossible to open, so we'll cut that open. And let's see exactly how this thing is supposed to work. I hate these packages. For one thing, if you want to store it, you really can't. I suppose you could open it up in such a way. There's a bunch of different pieces in here. Apparently, some of these are for one of them is for the chainsaw. Others are for the capability to sharpen lawnmower blades, which I don't think I would ever do that. I'm assuming these are the blades. The instructions come. Oh my God, the instructions are actually pretty terrible. There's some screws. Let's see what this looks like. I don't know where there's two of them. Probably different language. Throw that away. My name is Jose, but I speak English and read English. And it's my primary language. So I'm going to look at this. Oh my gosh. So they call it a chainsaw sharpening attachment kit. And there are directions on how to put this whole shebash together. So looking at these directions, I'm going to set them off to the side. We're going to use this. Apparently we're going to use this. There's some shims in there. And the shims that you use are dependent on the pitch, or excuse me, the width of the blade that you're going to use. Let's get all these parts out. The instructions do tell you what the widths of these are. So for example, we have a gray, pink, and a tan one. The blue one, which is the blue one, I guess it's not gray, it's blue. Nice. The blue one is 5/32. The orange one, which I presume is this one, is 3/16, and the pink one is 7/32. So what we got to do is really look at the blade itself, or look at the chainsaw itself, and let's do that right now. Alright, so to do that, we're going to look at the chain. There should be a number marked on here. And there is. This is 20 in this case, and you'll have to look up. The there's tables online that you can look up, but the 20 translates into 3/16, which is what I've been using. So I just wanted to point that out, though, that you would lift the chain up. There's a number typically stamped on the side of the guide there, and that means it's 3/16. So I will be using the 3/16, but first we need to get this thing together. I'm going to put these two aside because I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I'm not even going to attempt to sharpen a lawnmower blade. A handheld grinder is the best for that, best thing to do that. So here's the base. This will screw on to the actual Dremel tool. This is going to go on like so. But what we need to do is figure out how many shims we're going to need. And the instructions do give you directions on that. So the shim is only going to have one shim, and it will change depending on the size of the file that you'll be using. Oops, missed that. So yeah, you do have to assemble this. I'm not too pleased with this already. I think it's kind of hacky. They do give you a little screwdriver though, which is kind of neat. So the last part of this assembly is this little built-in tool, screwdriver, where it says side number 1. this is a gauge, and there should be just enough clearance. If you can see that gauge is lifting up in the air, it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can show you what's going on here. If you can see right in this section here, the gauge is lifting up in the air, which it shouldn't be, so that means that that bar needs to be adjusted. That would be this bar right here. So let's go ahead and do that. And the way to do that, let's loosen this up. We want to get this probably a little higher than what came from the factory, so you'll have to take my word that this is being adjusted correctly. And I'll tighten this up. So there's a little divot here, and one side should be flush against the gauge, the other side should be touching the stone, which it is. Let's see if I can illuminate that for you. So that now is properly adjusted. Let me tighten it up, make sure it doesn't move, because we don't want to screw up the teeth on that chain. Alright, let's go do a test cut. Alright, so here's the chainsaw. I've got it mounted on a vise. I find that to be the easiest way. What I like to do is find the double links where it's where the chain's connected. There's going to be two links, or two cutting teeth facing in the same direction. And this is a long chain, so let's just find that. Alright, so there's the double links. Now, I'm going to start right behind them, and the reason we do that is that this has an angle, and it does hold it quite nicely. So what we're going to do is right behind, we're going to take two strokes with this thing running, probably at around, I'll put the setting on that's 1500, I think. Let's see. So that's 5,000 RPM, 10,000 RPM, right about 15,000 RPM. So I've got this set for 15,000 RPM. Let me go up close, show you exactly what I'm going to do here. So if you'll see, this is marked at an angle. It's useful, I guess. I typically don't need this because I can see pretty clearly what the angle is. As a matter of fact, if you look at the front of the tooth, the cutting edge, that's the rake, or that's the angle that you want to use. So let's go ahead and do run through this chain real quick. It does leave a nice clean edge. So let me just point something out. A lot of these teeth have ragged edges. I've been working on this 22-inch round white oak that we had taken down, and I've hand sharpened it several times. There's chips. What I'm noticing is this tool is actually leaving a nice straight edge, and it's taking it away. So let me also mention that if you have to take 4 strokes, for example, on a tooth to get that clean edge, you probably want to take 4 strokes on every other cutting tooth, because you want them all to be the same distance. So let me keep going. So I'm going to do now is turn the chainsaw around and get the teeth that are facing the other direction. I'm going to start with those two that are facing the same direction. Let's go ahead and get those done. Alright, so I'm finding something I don't like already. Alright, so here's the chainsaw. The one thing they don't give you any way to measure or do is the cutting depth. This is a little cutting guide that I have out of an Oregon kit, and the idea is that these teeth here are basically a depth gauge so that you don't go too deep and take chips off. As these teeth wear down and go back, these need to be filed, and they're not at a point where they need to be filed yet. What you would normally do is file them, round them off to keep it at the right depth. That kit has no depth gauge filing capabilities. You're kind of on your own. They mention it in the instructions. Not really that great, I don't think, but we could probably live without it. Myself, here's my opinion. I could take this off and use this instead of a rat tail file. So I don't know, this costs 15-16 bucks. You could probably get one of these bits, 3/16, and for a lot less than that. And the other thing is these will wear down. I mean, this is stone and it's going against steel. I can use this directly and not have an issue. And I know the angle. The angle's there, so you know, this is not really an issue. Actually, I would go from this direction. So I don't know. So far I'm kind of down on this kit, but let's go cut with it. Let's just at least make an honest attempt to see how this works, and we'll go from there. All right, so let's test this saw out. We sharpened it with that Dremel attachment. I've got this massive white oak that we've been cutting up a little bit at a time. Next comes a split, and that'll be fun. But I want to see how it cuts and the quality of the chips that come out. So let me go ahead and start the chainsaw and we'll take a look at that. The quality of these chips are just nothing short of amazing. I mean, that actually did a really good job sharpening it. There's none that are too big, too long. It's just tearing right through that white oak like it's nobody's business. I'm going to go ahead and finish making that cut. I'm actually really impressed with the sharpening, but I have some reservations and I'll talk about those in a few minutes. So what you've been waiting for, my opinion on this overall sharpening kit. I've got mixed feelings about this. It did a really good job. You saw the cut. The chips that came out of it were amazing. It sharpened that blade better, or that saw chain better, than I've been able to do by hand with the file. On the other hand, this little thing gets in the way. I don't think it's just not really a good fit, especially when you're trying to sharpen the saw with the motor on your right, chain on the left. If you lay this flat, it lifts this bit up way too high, even with this thing adjusted as it was supposed to with the gauge that came with it. Just didn't cut it. So my opinion, I think the idea of sharpening with a Dremel is good. I mean, I've got some amazing cuts out of it, but you really don't need that attachment. You can actually buy these Dremel bits on Amazon, 2 for $5, right about there. 2 for $4 at a local hardware store, and you're better off just using these if you don't want to use a rat tail file, the 3/16 rat tail file. Then this works just fine. And in fact, the next time I got to get through cutting up that big white oak, but when I get through with that, or even halfway through it, I'm sure I'll have to sharpen it some more. I'm just going to put this bit in here and sharpen it that way. So honestly, even though it did a good job of sharpening it, I think it's a little bit of overkill. I think you can do the chainsaw sharpening with the bit itself, and you don't have to spend $15 on that kit. I mean, if you do, I'll put a link to it below, but I just don't see wasting the money. So overall, thumbs down. I think it's too much. I think it's bulky. I think the way it works doesn't let you get a good edge on half the teeth unless you angle it, which the instructions don't tell you to do that. On the plus side, I give these little bits an A+. That's the sharpest that saw has ever been since it's starting to have been used. So that's the final outcome. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and got something out of it. If you did, hit like, subscribe, don't forget to share, and see you again.